The first thing you need to hear is this. No contact does not make an avoidant miss you the way it makes an anxious person miss you. It makes them feel safe first, and then it makes them curious, and then it makes them feel the loss. And most people sabotage in phase 1 because they confuse silence with failure. So in this episode, I am going to tell you exactly what avoidants secretly do after no contact, why they do it, what it means when it looks like nothing is happening, and how to handle the return in a way that actually increases your odds without rewarding the same cycle again. Here is the brutal truth that will instantly calm your nervous system if you let it. An avoidant can be intensely activated by you and still look completely normal on the outside. They can miss you and still not text you. They can watch you and still act indifferent. They can feel the loss and still tell themselves they feel nothing. That is not because you were nothing. That is because their entire system is built around one goal: keeping closeness at a distance so they can stay in control. And no contact threatens control, not by chasing them, but by removing access. After no contact, the first secret thing they do is they take a breath and they call it peace. The pressure is off. The emotional responsibility is off. The feeling of being pulled into someone else's needs is off. So, for the first window, usually the first few days, they often feel relief, not because they do not care, but because the part of them that panics around closeness finally gets oxygen. This is why you can go silent and see nothing. They are not celebrating your absence like a villain. They are decompressing from a system that feels closeness as obligation. If you understand that, you stop expecting an instant chase response. You stop staring at your phone like no contact is a slot machine that should pay out by day 3. Now, here is the second secret thing they do. And this is the one nobody wants to hear because it is not romantic, but it is real. They start managing the story in their head. Avoidants regulate through narrative. If they can explain it, they can contain it. So, after no contact, they often build a protective storyline like, I knew this would happen. They are emotional. This was too intense. They will come back. This is fine. I am fine. I needed space anyway. That storyline is not always conscious manipulation. It is self-protection. It is a psychological shield that keeps the door closed from the inside. And if you break no contact too early, you do not just reach them. You strengthen the storyline that you are unstable and they were right to withdraw. That is why the first phase matters. Not because you are playing games, because you are refusing to confirm the story that makes them run. Third secret. They check for energetic access. They may not call it that, but they can sense when you are still hovering. If your silence is messy, if you are viewing every story, liking old posts, posting emotional bait, changing profile photos, posting quotes that scream, I am dying, they feel you there. And when they feel you there, nothing shifts. Because their nervous system still experiences you as available. No contact only creates leverage if it is clean. Clean means the connection is not being fed through side doors. You are not punishing. You are not performing. You are simply not available to the old pattern. Fourth secret. They watch without touching. This is the part that drives people insane. Avoidants often monitor from a distance because distance is their comfort zone. They can look at your profile, check your last scene, notice your activity patterns, ask a mutual friend a casual question, or scroll your feed. and they will do it in a way that keeps their pride safe. It is not the behavior of someone who does not care. It is the behavior of someone who cares but does not want to be exposed. And this is where you need the right mindset if you want a real return. Your goal is not to catch them watching and feel validated. Your goal is to create a climate where the only path back to you is direct behavior. Because watching is the avoidance way of getting closeness without responsibility. If you reward watching with attention, you train them to stay indirect. Fifth secret: they test the environment before they test you. When no contact holds, the avoidance brain starts scanning for consequences. Not dramatic consequences, quiet consequences. Did you move on? Did you change your behavior? Did you stop revolving around them? Did you become harder to access? Not because they want to control you like a cartoon villain, but because the nervous system wants certainty. Their system asks one question: am I safe to come closer without being swallowed? And am I safe to come closer without being shamed? That is their real fear, not losing you. The fear is what happens if they keep you. Fear of obligation, fear of failing, fear of being exposed, fear of being trapped in expectations they cannot meet. So if you want the return to be more than a reset of the same cycle, you must become calm and firm. Calm lowers pressure. Firm raises standards. Calm says, I am not here to trap you. Firm says, I am not available for inconsistency. That combination is rare, and it is the only combination that does not trigger their panic while still restructuring the cost of distance. Sixth secret: they remember you in fragments. Avoidants do not always miss you in a clean, linear way. They miss you in flashes. A smell, a song, a place. A moment when they feel lonely and their body reaches for what felt safe. Then their mind kicks in and says, do not go there. You will get pulled in. You will have to talk about feelings. You will have to explain yourself. You will disappoint them. You will fail. So they cut the feeling off. This is why you can go months with no direct contact and still see a sudden reach out that looks random. It is not random. It is a wave pattern. Their emotional system leaks through the cracks when their defenses get tired. Seventh secret: they practice conversations with you in their head, but they rarely practice vulnerability. They practice control. They rehearse what they would say if they reached out, so they do not feel exposed. They imagine the safest version of a return that costs them the least. That can look like a casual message, a meme, a logistical question, a check-in that is neutral, or even a sudden like or reaction. It is not always breadcrumbs as cruelty. It is often a low-risk probe. And this is where your response matters more than your silence did. Because the moment they test, your nervous system wants to collapse into relief. Most people do. Most people respond fast, warm, over-available, over-grateful. And they accidentally teach the avoidant a deadly lesson. I can leave, I can come back, and I will be rewarded for returning without changing. If you want them back, you cannot reward the return. You reward the staying. You reward consistency, behavior, and repair. That does not mean you punish. It means you meet the probe with steadiness, not hunger. You make the bridge safe, but you do not remove the cost of distance. Let me make this painfully practical. If they send a casual message after no contact, Do not reply like a starving person who finally got water. Reply like a steady person who has a life. Warm, short, clean. No emotional essays, no interrogation, no performance. Then you watch what happens next. Do they follow up? Do they try to build actual connection? Do they show effort? Do they bring consistency? If they do, you open slowly. If they do not, you do not chase the probe. Because chasing the probe teaches them they can keep you on a string. 8th secret. They often try to reset without repairing. Avoidants love resets because resets erase accountability. A reset means we do not talk about what happened, we just start over. If you accept the reset, you get the person back for a moment, but you do not get the relationship back. You get the cycle back. So your job is to be able to hold one clean standard without drama. I like talking to you, and I am open to rebuilding, and I am not interested in repeating the same pattern. That is it. Not a speech, not a trial, a standard. If they have capacity, that sentence becomes a doorway. If they do not have capacity, that sentence reveals it fast. And that is a win either way, because it protects your leverage and your nervous system. 9th secret. They watch how you handle your own emotion. This is the part people misunderstand. You think no contact is only about depriving them. For an avoidant, no contact is data. It tells them who you are when they are not regulating you with attention. If you spiral publicly, if you break your own boundary, if you punish, if you beg, if you collapse, they feel confirmed that closeness equals chaos. But if you go quiet cleanly, if you stay steady, if you do not smear them, if you do not perform pain, you become safer in their mind. Not safer because you accept anything. Safer because you are stable. Stability is the thing they crave but fear. You are showing them stability without pressure. That is what makes the return possible. 10th secret. They often try to get reassurance without intimacy. They want to know you still care without having to be close. They want to know they still have access without having to be responsible. This is where so many people lose the game. They give reassurance for free. They soothe the avoidance anxiety while ignoring their own needs. They say, "It is fine, I understand. Take your time. I will wait. Just do what you need." That sounds loving, but it is actually a donation of your peace. If you want a real return, you do not donate access. You exchange access for consistency. That does not mean you are cold. It means you are accurate. Words without behavior do not count. Attention without responsibility does not count. Apologies without repair do not count. Now, let me walk you through the timeline so your brain stops panicking. Phase 1 is relief. This is usually days 1 through 3, sometimes longer. They feel space. They tell themselves it is fine. They may look calmer than ever. If you break here, you lose leverage. Phase 2 is curiosity. This is when the routine changes. Their nervous system notices the lack of signal. They may start checking. They may start thinking. They may start quietly watching. Still no text. If you break here, you again teach them you cannot hold your line. Phase 3 is contact temptation. This can happen anywhere from day 7 to day 21, sometimes later, and it often happens when their defenses drop, when they are tired, when they are lonely, when they remember a fragment, or when they feel you becoming less available. This is when the first probe arrives. If you collapse here, you reward the return. If you respond steady, you create the possibility of a return that becomes real. Phase 4 is the fork. Either they increase effort or they retreat again. If they increase effort, you go slow and you require consistency. If they retreat, you do not chase the retreat. You let the retreat cost them access. That is consequence. Consequence changes avoidant patterns over time, not speeches, not emotional trials. Here is the most important part of this whole episode if your goal is to get them back. No contact is not a spell. It is a filter and a frame. It filters out people who only want access without responsibility. And it frames you as someone who does not beg, does not chase, and does not collapse. Avoidants respect what is steady. They relax into what is easy. If you want them back, you have to stop being easy to lose. Easy to lose means they can disappear and return, and you will still be there in the same posture. Harder to lose means your access is earned, not extracted. Now, let us talk about the biggest mistake people make when they try to use no contact. They go silent, but they keep the loop alive in their head. They keep checking. They keep rehearsing. They keep waiting. They keep living in the next signal. That is still participation. That is still attachment fuel. And avoidants can feel that availability. They may not name it, but they can sense that you are still there. So nothing changes. Cleaner silence means you remove both the external behavior and the internal feeding. It means your attention comes back to you. You do not need to hate them. You do not need to prove a point. You just stop feeding the loop. And here is how you do that without turning cold. You keep your heart warm and you keep your behavior clean. Warm heart means you do not smear. You do not punish. You do not play games. Clean behavior means you do not chase. You do not flood. You do not reward inconsistency. That is unbothered, without becoming cold. Now, if you want the return, you need one more skill. How to handle the first real conversation when they come back. Because this is where everything either upgrades or resets. The avoidant comes back in one of three forms: the probe, the apology, or the nostalgia. The probe is casual. The apology is vague. The nostalgia is emotional, but slippery. Your response to all three is the same framework. Step 1. Acknowledge warmly, but briefly. Step 2. Do not over-explain your feelings. Step 3. Invite consistency without demanding it. Step 4. Watch behavior. Here is what that sounds like. If they probe with something casual, you respond warm and short, and then you go quiet again unless they build. If they apologize vaguely, you accept it briefly, and then you name the standard. I am open to rebuilding if we do it differently. If they go nostalgic, you validate the moment, and then you anchor to reality. I liked what we had, and I am not interested in repeating the on and off. The goal is not to win the conversation. The goal is to upgrade the pattern. And if they are capable, this will not scare them away. It will actually calm them because it removes ambiguity. Avoidants panic in emotional fog. Clarity reduces panic. But clarity must be delivered without pressure. That is why calm and firm is everything. Calm says there is no emergency here. Firm says, I know what I allow. Now, let me address the fear that is probably sitting in your chest right now. What if they never come back? What if I hold no contact and they move on? Here is the truth that protects you without sugarcoating. If clean silence pushes them away forever, chasing would not have made them a stable partner. It would have only bought you temporary contact at the cost of your self-respect. No contact is not what makes someone leave. No contact reveals who they are when you stop doing all the work. And if you want them back, you want the version of them that can handle consistency, not the version of them that only returns when you beg. So the goal is not to force a return. The goal is to create a return that becomes real. That means you stop rewarding the cycle. One more secret avoidants do after no contact, and it is subtle, but it matters. They often become more attracted to the person you become in their absence than to the person who chased them in their presence. Because chasing signals instability. Calm signals strength. And strength feels safer to them than emotional intensity. You do not need to become cold. You need to become harder to pull out of yourself. Your nervous system needs to stop treating them like survival. When your nervous system stops treating them like survival, you stop flooding them, you stop begging, and you start holding standards. That is when the dynamic shifts. So let me end with a rule that collapses this entire episode into one sentence you can actually live. If it cannot change your future, do not let it change your nervous system. If their inconsistency cannot build stability, do not reward it with attention. If they want access without responsibility, do not donate your peace to keep them comfortable. That is not coldness. That is self-respect. And when you live from self-respect, you stop feeling like your life is a series of reactions, and you start feeling like your life is a series of choices. That is what makes you magnetic. Not because you are playing a game, but because you are no longer available to chaos. Welcome to PsychBond. You're safe here.